Okay, we are live now with Reggie Wright Jr. and Greg Kading. You'll know Greg Kading from the Murder Rap book. He also worked on the Special Task Force to investigate the murder of Biggie, and he also has a series coming out called Unsolved on the USA Network that debuts in February. Is that correct, Greg? February?
Yeah, February 27th, I think. February 27th, I think.
Okay. 27.
Yeah.
So we'll let people filter in and see if people want to submit questions. But in the meantime, Greg, what has your reaction been to all the stuff that's come out lately? As far as Fox had a special, A&E had a special. Seems like there's a lot of special stuff going on with Tupac and the murder and death row and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's just the story that doesn't die. It's fascinating to me that there's just, the interest in these cases never goes away. Even though I think, for the most part, most of the answers have been publicly, presented. But at the same time, answers or not, the intrigue and mystery about this whole thing just continues on. I gotta wonder if it'll ever fade away.
Yeah. What can people expect from Unsolved that maybe they haven't seen in whether it's the biopic or these special things, as far as Fox and all that? And what exactly has your involvement been so far in Unsolved?
So Unsolved is taking a completely different, approach, a different medium really to kind of portray what happened in these two investigations. My investigation that came along in 2006 and also the Poole investigation that happened back in 1997. And so there's the two parallel investigations that are going to be told through very stylistic television. And got some great actors, fantastic directors, and a great showrunner. And it's fantastic. I couldn't be happier with the way things turned out. But it's a scripted it's a scripted
Mm-hmm.
10 episode series that's completely different than a documentary.
Right.
So it's a completely different style of representing this story, and it's going to be great. And my involvement was, they bought the story rights and the book rights, and I got to be involved directly with the writing and working within the writers' room with a variety of fantastic and diverse writers, and went to set and served as a co-executive producer at the set, and got to give some insights as to how things, happened, so that we could stay as historically accurate as possible while still telling an entertaining story. So, there's some creative license that we had to take in areas because we're compressing really three different stories in different time frames into one. The Biggie and Tupac story and their friendship and their falling out, and then Russell Poole and his story, and then mine. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a really it's convoluted, but it's done in such a nice way that I think you can easily depict what time frame we're in just by the way that the style of the show is.
Okay. Who all will be, as far as who the fans know, who all will be portrayed in the series? From the trailer, we can already tell Biggie, Tupac, of course. I think Reggie mentioned that there will be somebody portraying him. Are there other people that people know of?
Yeah, so we've got a Suge Knight character and a Valletta Wallace character, and the other members of the task force, specifically my partner Darren Dupree. He's got a huge role, or I should say, the actor portraying him, Bokeem Woodbine. He's got a big role. Some of the other task force members, Russell Poole's partner, a guy named Fred Miller, he was very prominent in the investigation back in 1997, and there's a whole variety of characters, and it's just a fantastic cast portraying them.
Gotcha.
I had a question, Greg. I want to, I kind of know, but I want to see if you can just tell how many different agencies and guys that was initially signed to your task force, because everybody want to keep always referring it to it like you just came up with these theories, and you put it out, in the book, but your whole task force, as I understand, was in agreement with you. So if you can just kind of explain to people the different agencies that was involved, if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So there was, I think, we had about 16 different people from 7 or 8 different agencies. You know, we had LA sheriffs on our task force, DEA guys, FBI guys, the U.S. attorney. We had ATF guys, LAPD guys, of course, and so it was a really, large group of people all working collectively together and bringing our different strengths and our different investigative skills together to complement one another. We had gang experts and gun experts and drug experts and, everybody working together to try to solve the case. And, we're all in agreement about what the conclusions of our investigation are. It's far from just Greg Kading saying this is what happened. I mean, it was a broad group of people collaborating on this thing.
Yeah, that's what RJ and JMIX were always going to try to put out, just like it's your theory. But I know from firsthand experience that it was more people involved than just you. The second question I want to ask you is on could you kind of explain what happened on the gun incident with Brennan, if you can? How it was found, how it was portrayed on the A&E program. And I know you was instrumental, and you always said that you didn't believe it was the gun or something like that, and you didn't understand why Brennan had put that out like it was. But if you can explain in your own words what happened with that.
Yeah, Reg, I'm super sorry. The volume's really low on your end.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe it's my phone or something.
Okay. John, can you repeat it? Or what I was pretty much asking, can you hear me now, Greg?
Yeah, a little better.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering if you can kind of explain the scenario or how it went down, or your understanding on the gun that Investigator Brennan allegedly found that he said came back as a match, but I think you kind of knew that it didn't come back as a match.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's no big mystery behind this gun. It's being misrepresented as that it was the gun. We don't have any evidence of that. There was a gun that was recovered in the backyard of an associate of Corey Edwards. Corey Edwards, as you know, was a Southside Crip, friend of Orlando Anderson, and Corey Edwards was in Vegas the night that Tupac was shot and part of the Crip entourage. And a gun was recovered in his backyard. And I think his girlfriend's father or something had called the police, and they came over and they seized this gun that was in a backyard. It happened to be a Glock. The Compton PD booked the gun, and nothing was tested on it or anything. They just, they weren't a department that had the resources to test every gun that was taken off the street. But years later, when Brennan is on our task force, and he's now with the Sheriff's Department because, as most of you know, the Compton PD folded and the Sheriff's Department absorbed all of their personnel. So Brennan's over at the Sheriff's Department. He's invited to our task force. He remembers that there's all of these guns that were seized by Compton PD that were in evidence that were never tested. And so we asked him, would you mind going and looking through it all and see if you can find Glocks or 9mm? So he finds a Glock. And, of course, the history of that Glock is that it was found at Corey Edwards' associate's house. And then we take it down to the LAPD lab. We have it fingerprinted and, tested for DNA and all those type of things. And then we have it test fired. Well, when it's test fired, the imagery, they take a picture of the casing. It's where the where the firing mechanism hits the rear of the bullet, where the firing pin is, it makes an impression in that and leaves like a signature or, for all intent and purposes, a little thumbprint. And you take a picture of that and enter it into this thing called the NIBIN system. The NIBIN system is a ballistics tracking system. And when it's uploaded into that system, it's compared against all the other bullets of that make and model and that caliber. And we got a match that it matched the gun that was used. It matched the casing that had been uploaded into the system from the Tupac Shakur murder. It's a photographic match. 2 pictures side by side. They appear to be the same casings. So we take the gun out to Las Vegas and say, hey, we believe we have a match. They say, fine, we'll take it to our lab. But we're going to do a better way of comparing them. We're going to actually shoot the gun and then take the actual physical shell casing that's expended from the gun that's recovered from Corey Edwards and compare it to the actual physical shell casing that was a result of Tupac's murder. And they look at both of them under a microscope, and a forensics, expert says, no, these aren't a match. Yeah, I understand the pictures look good, but it's not a perfect match. And so they eliminated that gun as the murder weapon. And that's all there is to it. There's nothing we can do about that if it's not a match. And
did you feel it was the weapon when you gave it to them? Like in your gut, did you feel like that could possibly be the one?
Yeah, I absolutely did. We were really excited. We thought we had gotten the gun. And then, of course, that gun would have connected directly to a Southside Crip that was in Vegas. And so we were really excited and had every expectation that it was the right gun. But when an expert says it's not, we have to accept that as the truth.
Was that chain of evidence found before the Keffe D confession or after?
Before.
Before, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and the other question, this is something I think is personal on my part that I wanted to clear up. I thought once when we had talked, you had told me that you had identified the gentleman, that everyone, all of the people in RJ fans, want to believe is my father, Reggie Wright Sr., that walked away with Orlando Anderson. I know for a fact, you don't have to convince me, I know for a fact it's not him. But I thought you knew who that person was or had identified that person somehow. And from your knowledge and from your investigation, do you believe that that is Reggie Sr.?
No, it absolutely, obviously isn't your dad. Your dad wasn't in Vegas. We know that. The guy that walks away, there's a younger guy that walks away with Orlando. I think he's wearing a white suit. And he was positively identified. I think his last name was Gomez. For some reason, I want to think his first name was Alonzo. Gosh darn it, I don't remember his name right off the top of my head.
Not the younger guy. I think they're talking about the older guy in the beige suit, though, to be honest.
Yeah, I have no idea who that is. I think it's casino personnel. I don't know who that is, Reg. Okay. Yeah, we identified the younger guy, but, you know what? But that's a great comparison. It's just like with the bullets. You take a couple of pictures, and they look like it's like, man, those could possibly be the same person. Yeah. But it's not. You need more than just what appears to be on a couple pieces of paper, or photographs, and they're not even good photographs. Those photographs in Las Vegas are really crap. It's not like high definition photographs. Mm-hmm. And so to draw the conclusion that that's somebody just based on the suspicion that you want that person to be in the photograph, and you create that false truth.
Yeah. A lot of guys are hitting up about, and I guess you started this name because I never heard this man referred to this name, and you might have got it or heard it doing your investigation. But I know it's George Williams, which is G. Mm-hmm. They refer to him as Monkey Man. A lot of people keep asking, what's up with him? I know he's in jail in federal prison for some drugs, him and Roderick Reed. But they just keep asking about that. So if you can explain where the name Monkey Man came from. And
so George Williams obviously was a close friend of Suge's, at least for a while, and he's affiliated with Death Row Records as part of that that blood entourage. He did end up going to prison for PCP and other federal crimes, and we approached him up in Victorville, and he didn't want to talk. He just wasn't interested in cooperating. But there's, aside from the fact that he's got this history with the gang and he's affiliated with Death Row, there's really nothing much more to talk about with George Williams.
Now, his accomplice, Roderick Reed, I'm hearing that you had talked to him, and he was giving up some information on a letter or something that he had wrote Kevin Hackey. Do you have anything you can elaborate on that?
Yeah, so he wrote this letter to Hackey. Hackey ended up giving it to us. And in that letter, Roderick Reed says, I know who killed Biggie. It was Poochie. And obviously he would have known that because George Williams and Poochie would have known each other. And so, it was an interesting piece of information. And, of course, when we talked to Teresa Swan and get her story about what went down, and she tells it's Poochie, and we start to, corroborate this information, and that's pretty compelling stuff. But Roderick Reed, I think, only would have known about Poochie because of his association with George.
Yeah.
And
Poochie. Poochie worked for him too for a minute until they got into that shooting where he shot up Poochie. Yeah. But
you're talking about George.
No. Well, actually, Roderick Reed and George shot up Poochie. That's why Poochie wanted to kill them so bad.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know Reed was there.
Yeah, that's what they try to say did it, or he tried to take credit for it. But everybody that knows him say he didn't have that type of guts. So.
Right.
Yeah. The other thing was, and in fairness to everybody, Roger Reed did put in the letter that I was the one that supposedly hired Poochie. I just want to put that out for, and you can speak on it. I don't care because you know the truth. But I think Roger Reed did say that. Or is there any truth to that?
You know what?
Because someone said that.
I'd have to I'd have to reread that letter and see exactly what all the details are. I know he was talking about Frank Liga and going in some other directions, but you keep in mind this guy's in prison for the rest of his life, and
so he was reading all the.
He's trying to figure out how he's going to get himself a little bit of love by sending information out there.
Okay.
B-Lee Greg wants to know if you can speak on an incident where Biggie had to change hotel rooms because of threats he was receiving. Do you have any information about that? I'm assuming it's when he was out in California before he got shot.
Yeah, I don't know anything about threats, but they were, he had to change hotel rooms because of a violent encounter he had with a female in his room. And so there was, a fight in this room. Security came, and Puffy whisked, Biggie away really quick before cops could get there and, fill out an assault report. But it had nothing to do with him receiving threats. It had to do with other issues that was going on with Bad Boy and not behaving themselves when they were in L.A.
Hey, Greg, are you on the live chat typing?
No.
I'm
in my car.
I know, I'm being facetious. There's a guy by the name of Kenneth McLean that everybody accused of being you, and so I'm just trying to show them that that's not true, that you're not typing, and Kenneth McLean is on there like crazy. So.
Okay. Yeah, somebody the other day I got something on Instagram or something. Somebody asked me, "Hey, Greg, are you Kenneth McLean?"
He's so knowledgeable. That's why he's about as good as he might write a little better. But my boy, you remember Anton? I haven't talked to him in a while. Anton Bailey. I think I introduced you guys, and y'all been working together.
Oh yeah, what happened to that guy?
Yeah, Anton. He's about as thorough as he is.
Yeah, I think Anton's doing well. He's he's a teacher and keeps himself busy. He works out. He lives out in Detroit, and he gets involved in a lot of local community stuff, and he keeps himself really busy. And he made so many great contributions to investigating this case, and he's always such a professional. One of the few guys that really understood logical reasoning and looking at things from a very objective perspective.
Okay, let's talk about the half-dead theories. I know you and Antoine, I think, kind of investigated it a little bit. If you can just run that down to the new people that don't know much about it, just how that's such bullcrap, just on the little investigation work you did about the Pattons and I know it's repeating things, but there's a lot of people out here that just be jumping on that don't know the whole history and how you disproved it and found cars and how is the craziest theory that I ever heard. I don't know if it's the craziest one you ever heard, but
that's pretty dumb. It was fully investigated, and the whole thing was just pretty ludicrous once you look at how it all came together. Chris Blatchford thought so little of it that he did absolutely nothing with it for 10 years, and just sat in his desk or wherever he happened to have had it. And right when he's getting ready to retire, he flips it over to Russell Poole, who decides to run with it. But just the idea that this this very well-known gang journalist did absolutely nothing with it should tell you what he thought about the source's credibility. And then you find out the source is this, clinically diagnosed schizophrenic who's, constantly having to go and take all of his anti-psych meds, and he dreams all this stuff up, and has given this information. He was the one who approached Chris Blatchford, the journalist, and gave him this letter, which he dictated to his niece. He had I think she was 13 years old at the time, and he was sexually assaulting her. And one of the things he made her do was write this letter. And so he dictates the letter to her. She writes it. He gives it to Chris Blatchford, and the Patton brothers used to live across the street from him. And so he incorporates, and with the older Patton, Danny Patton, was actually a friend of his, of this schizophrenic idiot. And so he puts in there Danny Patton, Malcolm Patton are involved in this thing. He writes their names, or he has her write their names in the letter, and talks about some nonsense with, little half-dead Snoop Dogg's cousin, and it's this big, ridiculous story of which none of the evidence in that letter is consistent with the actual evidence that we have from Las Vegas. It talks about these barricades and multiple shooters and all this stuff, white, I don't know, was it a Lincoln or something? Anyways, so I interviewed everybody. I talked to the Patton brothers. I reached out to the source, Robert Soria. I talked to the young lady that had actually written the letter, and she explained to me how the whole thing came together. I reached out to Little Half Dead, and interviewed everybody. And if the allegations weren't so serious, the whole thing is just absolutely laughable. Yeah. And it's just ludicrous. And these guys that are pushing it are doing it. They can't actually believe it. I think they're just pushing it because they have nothing better to do, and they become adversaries of the truth. And it's hard to believe that any of those guys could actually believe in that nonsense.
Yeah, we call them Cisco and Ebert if you don't want to say their names, because I know you don't. I can tell you didn't want to know, so we call them Cisco and Ebert. So.
I got a question that keeps coming across, Greg, and I don't know if you are good, if you could answer this, but somebody wants to know if you've ever listened to the lyrics of the Biggie song Long Kiss Goodnight, and if that gives you any insight or innuendos about your investigative work with the Crips and Puffy being involved with the Tupac murder.
Well, yeah, I am familiar with the song, and I've read the lyrics, and they've been sent to me on multiple occasions by different people that want me to hear about it. But I don't. The lyrics themselves are interesting, and it does provide a little bit of a level of corroboration about the alliance between these Crips and Bad Boy. But really, the lyrics are less valuable than talking to the people that were actually involved in this alliance. You could talk to people from Bad Boy who said, yes, we had Crips that were part of our entourage. When we go to LA, we had major issues with Suge Knight and Death Row Records. And so we used their services to kind of provide us a level of protection. And so talking to people who are actual witnesses or participants is much more valuable as far as evidence goes than some lyrics that can be interpreted in different ways. So it's interesting, but it's not, it's not like the kind of evidence that would be entered into a court of law should somebody had ever been charged.
Right. Okay.
I got a question from a guy named Gunsmoke, who I really believe is JMIX because he smokes so much. But the question is, and you can answer it, and you probably don't even know about it, but I guess there was some interview that you did with Anton Beatty, and the part 2 of it, there was something controversial with that or something? So they saying you trying to hold Anton back from releasing it. Do you know anything about that, or what they talking about?
Are you talking about like a phone interview with me and Anton and with
I guess it was a debate. It said, ask Greg Kading why he don't allow Anton Beatty to release part 2 of the JMX debate.
Well, that's up to Anton. Anton can do what he wants if he recorded it. I didn't record it. Otherwise, I don't have a problem with it. In the thing, it gets a little bit hostile. Jesse hangs up the phone, and then he gets back on the phone. He loses his cool, and I'm kind of, calling him an idiot. And so the whole thing's a little bit, unprofessional.
Well, you must have learned from it, because, boy, I listened to that interview you did with Michael Carlin, and you had way too much patience for that man and that. Greg,
Well,
stop hollering at me, Greg. Oh, man, I thought that was the funniest thing.
Well, the funny thing is, what happened, I'll tell you exactly what happened was, we're going back and forth, and I'm basically accusing him of being, for lack of a better term, a self-proclaimed journalist, or, I'm telling him he's got no investigative background, no actual training. He's never actually gone out and investigated murders or gang crimes or drugs or any of these things that you need to have some kind of, you need to have some experience to get some expertise in these fields. Yeah. And I tell him, I go, Jesse, it's so funny that when you first reached out to me, you told me how proud you were of Murder Rap and how you can't believe it's a bombshell of a book, and your mom read it and she was just fantastically, surprised by all the conclusions in it. And so the moment I said that, hey, Jesse, you're the one that told me that, your mom really loved Murder Rap, and then he just flipped out. I think the kid's bipolar. Yeah. He flips out, don't you bring my mom into this, and blah, blah, blah. And he hangs up, and it's like, well, wait a minute. These were your words. You're the one who told me these things. I'm just repeating them back to you. So if you can't handle that, then maybe never make those assertions to begin with.
B-Dash, she asked a question to me, but I don't know about it, and you might have heard about it. There was an incident on the way to Vegas with Pac and some football team. I read about it somewhere. I heard about something about Long Beach Poly. I think it was Long Beach Poly football team or some Long Beach school. Do you remember hearing anything about that?
Yeah, so I guess I can't I can't really talk too much about that because that's something that's in the program, and so I would just kind of defer to Unsolved. Okay. You'll see some, so but I can tell you that
watch Unsolved. B-Dash he talked about it.
I'm not supposed to really talk in depth about what the show is going to be about. So it was a historical event. It was, corroborated by an eyewitness. So it's just kind of an interesting thing that took place. It's not relevant to the murders at all, but it's still an interesting thing involving Tupac.
Okay. Gotcha.
Greg, here's a question from one of the people in the chat. He wants to know if Orlando Anderson got shot in the leg during the aftermath of the Tupac shooting, when there was a lot of stuff in Compton going on between the two gangs back and forth.
That's a good question that I don't know for sure. I'm not aware. I've never seen a police report or a medical report or even a statement, by any of the Southside Crips about Orlando getting shot in the leg. It's possible.
It's possible. About 2 or 3 months after that, at Eddie Fall's office, and he wasn't limping, and I didn't hear of anything where he got shot during the preparation of Suge's probation hearing.
I never heard of him getting shot either.
Yeah, I don't think that's true.
Okay, Greg, maybe you can answer this. Golden Child wants to know, is there any footage of the Tupac incident at MGM Grand that shows Tupac actually throwing the first punch, or are there any scenes from that altercation that are cut out from what the public is able to see?
No, everything that's out there is pretty much everything there is. You don't see it.
Okay. Let's see. Did Keffe D tell the truth when he admitted to being in the car with Orlando? In your opinion, because from what Reggie had mentioned in the upcoming Death Row Chronicles, Keffe D is going to try to redact his confession or his...
Well, I changed that. I think I'm changing my opinion on that.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that Keffe D told us the truth about his involvement and Orlando's involvement and the other perpetrators' involvement and the other co-conspirators. I believe everything he said. I even believe the stuff he said about Puffy, but I understand the caveat to that component of the story needs to be qualified. And, people were really scared and they were afraid for their life. People were already dying. People were already getting shot. And, in out of fear, sometimes you do, you make bold statements that you don't necessarily fully mean. And that's the way I understand it. And that's what makes perfect sense to me insofar as the Puffy component of this thing. Mm-hmm. But everything he told us he could not have known much of the information that he divulged to us if he had not been there. You had to have been there to know what he knew, because there's information that was never made public.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have that kind of thing, and you have him under the conditions that he was in order to cooperate, those are all really good, compelling reasons to believe he's telling the truth. It's also just kind of common sense, isn't it? I mean, doesn't it just resonate as, wow, Tupac Shakur jumped on a gang member, and those gang members came back and shot him.
Yeah.
I call it 2 + 2, but they don't like me when I say that. It's just 2 + 2 is as simple as that.
Yeah.
You know, you look at, if you look at the Mob James interview, you'll see more of him during this Death Row Chronicles program that's coming up in a couple weeks. And I think after people see that, and after they see Unsolved, if they're still questioning the most obvious and plausible explanation of this whole thing, then they're never going to be satisfied. They're always going to chase a conspiracy theory, because all the information and evidence is there to draw a very sound conclusion of what took place, and it's all relatively simple.
Talbotto, and I'm rushing through it, I don't mean to be cutting you off, but I want to get to these people questions, the subscribers' questions. But he asked a Talbotto, I'll learn how to pronounce you guys' names one day. He asked, well, I heard JMIX as recently as last night try to say, and I'm not trying to be offensive because I know better. I know what it takes to be a robbery homicide cop for LAPD. But he trying to put it out like the guys that was on your task force was all like D-rated cops, and Russell Poole was like the best cop. And we're not going to hear and I know you're not even like that, or talk bad about Russell Poole. But could you just explain the type of cops that was on your task force, that these are the best of the best?
Yeah, I mean, the guys from the Sheriff's Department, Mike Cowett and Paul Fournier, very, very well-respected, seasoned homicide investigators. They had another female homicide investigator with her, a girl named Karen Shanka. Jim Black was, one of the most well-known ATF agents in Los Angeles. Had done tons of gang cases. And of course, the DEA guys were all experts in narcotics. We had one of the best surveillance guys on our team who was also a sheriff's investigator named Greg Thurman. And, of course, Darren Dupree, he's probably one of the most renowned gang investigators.
He worked a major case. What was that last case he just worked? Green Ripper or something? Yeah,
the Grim Sleeper. Yeah. So, we had great, qualified people on our task force. And everybody was extremely competent. And, we didn't always play well all the time. We had differences of opinions and different investigative strategies. But that's to be expected whenever you get a group of 16 people together and you're all kind of...
the stars of your team at home, like all-star game. Yeah.
So... Yeah, we have.
And the only reason I bring that up because he's trying to push the dirty cop scenario, in which,
There's anything that doesn't go along with the half-dead Patton brothers craziness that makes, it can never be proven because it's so ridiculous. So anything that does have merit and can be proven, they try to poke holes in it. So I think that's really all that is with them. Not to continue to harp on them, but it just... to see, and maybe you can shed some light on this, Greg, to see that theory even given like 2 minutes of airtime on the A&E special was kind of mind-boggling to me. What did you think when you saw that?
The A&E special was so disappointing. I mean, it really was. I think that both Ice-T and
well, that's a different one.
Yeah, that was the Fox one. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, I got those kind of confused. I don't know. I think a lot of times these studios or these networks, they're just trying to put out anything that is entertaining, controversial, thought-provoking, whatever. They don't really care all the time about the importance of truth. Entertainment is more important oftentimes for them. And, they're not there to draw conclusions. They're just there to present the audience with this, this idea. and then the audience gets to do with it what they want. I think it's irresponsible oftentimes for programs to do that, because you get very impressionable young people. They don't know a lot, and then they draw conclusions based on, this erroneous information, and then the wrong people start getting accused of things like murder. And so it's a very irresponsible thing for me to just say, hey, let's throw out a bunch of theories without providing any substantiating evidence, because it puts people in harm's way and it misleads people.
Mm-hmm.
DJ from AG asks, you want to know from Greg, why was Russell Poole taken off the Biggie case?
Poole was taken off the Biggie case. He got himself into a little bit of hot water. He was having an affair with one of the, members of the department, and he's kind of spiraling a little bit out of control. He was not known as a,
great
guy that handled his liquor very well.
Oh, okay.
And they were specifically told not to take their department vehicles to an after work function where people were going to be drinking and then driving those department vehicles. And so Russell Poole didn't heed that advice. He went to a function, he drank too much, and instead of driving, he allowed this female to drive, which is also, out of a violation of our policy. You can't let other people drive your city vehicles that they're not assigned to.
Mm.
And so another member of the department saw that, Russell Poole was puking out the side of a car, and the next day he reported to Robbery Homicide Division, because he ran what's called the shop number. He was able to get the plate, find out who the car belonged to, and then he reported it to Russell Poole's supervisor and said, hey, just so you know, your guy yesterday appeared to be, and that led to a personnel complaint against Russell. And there were some other things going on in his life and at Robbery Homicide Division, and so they decided to just transfer him out of Robbery Homicide Division.
And most
but
people
for
don't.
him,
Okay, go ahead.
For him, he saw this all as, this is just a poor excuse to get rid of me because I'm getting so close to the truth. And he couldn't convince his coworkers that what he was onto was credible, because they're objective, competent investigators. They're like, Russ, this just doesn't work. We see the circumstantial things that you're trying to connect, but we need real evidence, and you don't have it. So before you start making these allegations and going down this road, you better find that evidence. And he just allowed himself to lose his objectivity, to go down these rabbit holes. And when nobody wanted to hear him, he got frustrated and walked away from the department.
Got it. Did he get a stress retirement, or did he just retire with his 20 years?
No, he retired prematurely. He retired with like 19 and a half years on, which goes to show about where he was at mentally.
Yeah.
That's
that you walk away from
6 more months, he could have got probably most of his pension. Yeah.
He'd had a pension for life.
Yeah.
So by quitting 6 months earlier, he missed out on his entire pension for life?
Yep.
Wow.
And I think that illustrates, where he just wasn't thinking right.
Right. And one of the subscribers asked if we know what happened when Russell Poole passed. Do we have any insight or details on the story of when he had his heart attack, I believe it was?
Yeah, he was down at the Sheriff's Department Homicide Bureau, and he wanted to talk to them about this new theory that he'd come up with. And I should mention that he'd completely changed now what he believed had happened when he investigated back in 1997. And, he walked in and was under a lot of stress. Nobody, again, was really listening to him because he'd already gone to the LAPD and tried to convince them to do something with this new evidence with this new information, this little half-dead letter. And I think that all of that stress for all of those years just reached a boiling point, and he had a massive heart attack. They called an ambulance, and they tried to give him CPR, and they couldn't resuscitate him. he died, his heart blew up because of all the stress I think that he put upon himself for so long.
Killer Facts asks, what happened to Tupac You Finesse chain? I can answer that. I delivered it to his mother, Athene, at the W Hotel in Westwood,
Wow.
about 4 to 5 months after his death.
Wow.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Somebody asked,
where
speaking
it's
on
at
Russell
now.
Poole, was he trying to reopen the cases based on his new theory that he had learned about the half-dead and all that stuff from R.J. Bonds? Was he trying to reopen the cases? Is that why he was going up to the LAPD office?
I don't know. Perhaps, he wanted to go and give them this information so that it could be followed up on. And I don't know why he didn't do it himself, to be honest with you. He could have done exactly what I did. And you just go out and start conducting an investigation. Go talk to these people. You don't have to be a cop to go interview people. But if you're interested in a case and you want to, pursue answers in a case, well, get off your ass. Go talk to Little Half Dead. Go talk to the Patton brothers. Go talk to the schizophrenic who's in prison, who was the source of this letter. Go talk to Reggie Wright Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Go talk to Sharitha. Go out there and do the work, because that's the only way sometimes it's going to get done. I can tell you, law enforcement saw that letter and just balked at it. Like, are you kidding me? I mean, it's so ridiculous just on the face of it,
Mm-hmm.
that I can imagine that Las Vegas and Los Angeles wasn't going to go out and spend a whole bunch of investigative resources looking into something that was so ridiculous just on the face of it.
And he wanna make it seem like it was just given to some detectives or something like that. Well, not him, but Bonds and them. He somehow got a meeting with some captains or commanders, didn't he? That, as I understood it, and took that letter to him. And no captains.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. What happened? He Vegas wasn't going to entertain an interview with him. They weren't trying to hear him at this point in time. He'd already alienated them. When you start making allegations against a department for being corrupt or for covering things up, they tend to not want to listen to you. So when he goes to the LAPD, they said, and I know this because I actually had a conversation with one of the commanders that was in the interview that day. And he says, hey, Russ Poole said he had information. He wanted to bring it to us. We said, fine, we're going to sit and listen. We're not going to share information with you. We're not going to tell you what's going on in the case. But if you have information you think it's important for us to hear, we'll sit and listen. And that's what they did. Kirk Albanese and Darren Dupree and I think McCarthy, they all sat down. Russell Poole came in. I was told that he was not looking well when he came to that meeting. And was slurring, looked bloated, was red in the face, and they were concerned about his welfare at that meeting. And they gave information over to the LAPD, and that was it. I really personally think it was all a publicity stunt. They knew they were going to be coming out with a book.
Yeah.
And so that was their way of generating some buzz. We met with the LAPD. They're taking our claims seriously. They're looking into this, none of which is true. But it was just a way for them to get a little traction in anticipation of promoting their book.
Park Ryder asks, when did Greg meet Reggie? I can answer that, I guess. About 2008.
Yeah.
They came knocking on my door. Him and his partner Darren Dupree, and that's pretty much it. A couple of people had got arrested on some charges, and they told me that what they were investigating, and we started.
Yeah, but I knew obviously, having done the investigation for a couple of years at that point. I started looking into it 2006, and now it's 2008. But I had all the investigative material that was was available to me from the FBI interviews, the Las Vegas PD interviews, and the LAPD interviews. So I'd already read all of Reggie's interviews and knew all the information that he had provided and all the all the stuff that he had to say. So I was aware of Reggie Wright Jr., his position at Death Row Records, and so when we went to talk to him, it was just simple as that. We're going to go see if this guy's telling the same story now that he was back, during these other interviews, and get a sense for what he's about and whether or not he can help us. So me and my partner went to his house, knocked on the door, he invited us in. I think your dad was...
He was living with me at the time, yes.
Yeah, he might have been there too. And that was it. And so once I formed an alliance because I knew Reggie could help us, that he was going to help us understand some things that we didn't understand and get some insights to things that we didn't have insights into. So, Reggie became a resource.
Had you been surveilling Reggie before you knocked on his door, or no?
Yeah, there was surveillance prior. A couple of guys on our task force, specifically the LA County Sheriff's Department, they wanted to do a soft pre-investigation of Reggie.
Okay.
And we did surveillance of him, and it came to a point where I was like, you know what? Let's just go talk to the guy. Mm-hmm. We're out here spinning our wheels. We're not getting anything from the surveillance whatsoever. I said, this is a waste of time and energy. Let's just go knock on the door and see what's up. So that's what happened.
And for the smart Alex that's out there, 2006, 2008, I wasn't involved in any of the things that I been accused of being involved in 2014 and 16. And so
well, if you were, we weren't. If you were, we didn't see it.
Yeah, exactly. I would have got me on that. I would have been like Keffe. Keffe D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Reggie, do you remember, real quick, Reggie, do you remember a Death Row Dave? I think it's a guy who drove the limo for Suge.
Yeah.
Okay. People are asking about him.
Dave, I saw that question. Death Row Dave was a guy that worked the office. He worked initially for the previous security company called Code 4 that I used to, before I opened up Right Way, I used to use to do special events and stuff like that for. He started working inside the office. Him and Norris Anderson got real close, and eventually he tried to act like he was Shiv's limo driver. I don't think he drove Shiv, probably maybe 4 or 5 times, if that. But that's Dave. If y'all know where he's at, let me know, because he stole a whole bunch of stuff, and it's mainly the motorcycle stuff. But he mainly started dealing with Norris Anderson and being his runner or something like that. But he mainly worked inside the office. He was the office security before we even got the building on Wilshire. It was the building that we had that was in the Flint building. And so that's what Death Row Dave is. But the stuff that he was saying, I don't know where he got any of that information from. But that's how my security guys got. When you put a microphone in front of them, they like to talk. As I learned.
Okay. Greg, did we keep you for too long? Do you need to hop off, or
yeah?
Okay.
I got
no, I think I've got like 5 more minutes. I got to pick my wife up at the airport, and I'm pulling in now, but she hasn't actually come out for like 5 or 10 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I had you committed somewhere else. I wanted just to call down right quick for 5 or 10 minutes if we can.
Okay.
And deal with them.
Let's do that.
Is that okay, Greg?
You're cool with that, Greg?
Just to give me 5, 10 more minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna call the other site and continue to answer questions over there, and just to do a few 10 minutes over there.
And
so
Unsolved.
Thanks a lot, John.
Yeah, anytime.
John?
And Unsolved starts airing in February on USA Network, so make sure everybody checks it out.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. People are going to love it.
Yeah.
Did you get picked up for another 10 episodes? I thought I read somewhere that you got picked up again for another 10 episodes, or just the 10 so far?
We're just season 1 right now. I don't know when they'll decide about season 2. I think typically it's like 3 or 4 episodes into the first season. They'll look at the ratings and decide whether they're going to do season 2. But I'm pretty confident we'll see it, because I think this show's going to be great.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. All right. Appreciate it, Greg. Thank you for joining us.
Hey, it's good talking to you again, John. My pleasure, buddy. Call anytime.
Okay, will do.
All right, guys.
All right.
Okay, Reggie. Let me know when
Hey.
Are you back, Reggie?
Okay. I'll call you back in like 10 minutes, buddy.
Okay. So while we wait for Reggie to call back, let's. Does anybody have any questions for me? I know I'm not. I didn't do anything. I'm not a factor in anything. But if anybody has any questions that they would like me to try to answer, I can do that while we kill time waiting for Reggie to come back. What is Greg's favorite Pac song? I don't know. Trayvon, we are reaching out to Trayvon. We will see if we can talk to him. I've talked to him numerous times. Reggie obviously has talked to him numerous times. So we'll see what we can do. Did I work for? Yes, I worked for Death Row in late 1997, all the way through until 2005, and then Death Row filed for bankruptcy. And when Wide Awake bought it, they contacted me, and I worked for them for about a year before I quit doing that stuff. Yes, Trayvon would definitely be huge. I would love to get Trayvon on here. I think everybody's tried to get Trayvon in one way or another, whether it's a documentary or for movies or, for whatever. So what happened with Wide Awake? I don't know what happened with Wide Awake. I mean, I think they had good intentions. They tried to put out music. I tried to pick good songs that were in the vault to put out, like that Dog Pound, what was it called? Doggy Bag. I put that one together, and I thought I really put the best stuff I could find on that album. I really wanted some Tupac features. Obviously, that we weren't able to do that. However, I don't know what happened with Wide Awake. I do know the catalog's owned by E1 now, so they are in control of that. So we'll see what happens. Was you on? No, I wasn't on Welcome to Death Row. What did I do specifically for Death Row? Okay, good question. I started out by creating their first website. Funny story is, when I got hired, I didn't even know how to do websites. It was too good of an opportunity to not take them up on it. I had been talking to them for maybe about 4 or 5 months, and they didn't have a website. I would get information from them and then give it to fan websites. It was called Death Row Headquarters at the time. So one day I got a call, and they said, you know what, we want you to do our website. And I wasn't going to say no, even though I didn't know how to design sites. So luckily back then, it wasn't like it is now, where you can get on GoDaddy and have a domain and a host and a website up within an hour. So it took them a little bit to get that together, thankfully. So I scrapped up any kind of skills I could try to muster up to get some sort of website up. And I did, and then I don't know if people from back in the day remember, but that website would get redesigned a lot. And that was basically me using that website as my notepad. When I would learn a new effect in Flash, or when I would learn something new graphically, I would apply it to a design and put it on the Death Row website, and that's why it was updated as often as it was. Let's see what else. What happened to Eastwood's Death Row album? I don't know. All that stuff, I would ask the same questions you guys were, because I was a fan before I worked for them. So believe me, all the questions that you guys would ask, I would ask too. And I don't know. I don't know what happened with Eastwood's album, or why Crooked Eyes didn't come back, or Left Eye, or any of that stuff. So I don't really know. Let's see if there's any other questions. Did you hear any unreleased Tupac? Let's see what Omar's talking about. Hello? Yeah. No, I'm live right now. Do you want me to patch you in? Okay, hold on. Okay, you there?
Yeah.
Okay. For everybody, this is Omar, who works on the Bomb1st website with me. I don't know. You want to do a little intro about yourself? I don't know. It's kind of weird talking.
No.
Okay.
Jay, talk a little bit about that 4-disc CD.
Okay.
Talk about that a little.
Okay. So basically, the plan was we were gonna do a thing called From the Vaults, and it was gonna be a 4-disc set, and they had the artwork and everything already made for it. So basically, what it was is it was a CD box, and it looked like a vault on the front, and you would flip the box from the bottom upwards, which would hold the disc, and then you could open to the right and to the left, and that would have discs 2 and 3, and then you would fold one more panel down, and that would have the 4th disc on it. And basically, we got a bunch of reference discs to see what material was available and all that stuff. And then they later ended up, it came out, it just got split into 2 different releases because the price of that album, I want to say, would be around $70. And I think Afeni thought that was too much to ask fans to pay, so they broke it up.
But at one point, they wanted to release the originals, or they were gonna do the remixes.
That I don't know. I would imagine probably the remixes, but honestly, I couldn't tell you. I'm not sure.
Well, I was talking about on the forums the other day that I think that after Pac passed, I think that Death Row did the best with his catalog, as far as like getting a couple songs, like 2 songs, 3 songs a year of his original work. I would have been happy if that would have gone on till now.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, we would have had everything by now. So we definitely got to talk to Reggie about what was his way of thinking about how he was going to spread those songs. When he did Gang Related and Gridlock, obviously he must have been the one sequencing the CDs, right?
Well, from what he told me, and I don't want to speak for Reggie because he'll be back in a minute, but from what he told me, he referred to Realist a lot when it came to song selections for Pac stuff. So like I know for Two Gangster for Radio, they did the Thug Nature or whatever, and they took the singer off, I forget her name, and then they put Jay Valentine on, but kept the original beat and all that stuff, but which was good. But of course, everybody wants to focus on the Friends song and what Hutch did with that one, because the bootleg had been out for so long and it was such a fan favorite. It was one of my favorites for sure. So even I was a little bit let down that it got changed a bit. But to your point, yeah, I think between the Estate and Death Row, I think Death Row had the track record for trying to keep songs as original as possible, whether it be the beats and all that stuff. They did, they had to remix Smile on the Greatest Hits, I think, because the sample or they couldn't get it or all that. But yeah.
Yeah. What was a total surprise that was actually pretty good was that Outlaws album pretty much came out it came out of nowhere. And for the most part they did a pretty good job on that album, but that you could tell that was like the transition where maybe people start saying like, oh, maybe we need to make those beats a little bit more modernized.
Yeah. Well, I asked the Outlaws about that one time, is if they caught any flack from remixing, and their logic made sense. And basically what they said was the bootlegs had been out for so long that people had heard these songs for so long that they wanted to change them up and give people a new version or a new way to hear the song, which I understand. It's their music, they can kind of do whatever they want, but I just know with Still I Rise, I love the Still I Rise album. Tattooed Tears was always one of my favorites, and I thought that one got butchered a little bit.
That song got butchered.
Yeah, but you never know what's gonna work unless you try stuff. So
but at the same time I'm thinking like, let's also be real about it. Like, they wanted to get a check, and they're not gonna get a check. You know what I mean? Like, they understood. Like,
hold on, okay, I got this Reggie calling in. 1 second. Hey, Reggie.
Hey.
Sorry,
you still on?
Yeah, I'm freestyling it right now.
Okay.
I'm just answering questions.
You can put us back on. I answer their questions.
Okay, you're on right now. You're on.
Okay.
All right, Reggie's back now. So I had a buddy, Omar, who works on the Bomb1st website. He called in, so we were just chit-chatting about music and Death Row and stuff. You want me to merge him in so he can ask you a couple questions too?
Yeah, whatever they want to do.
Okay, hold on.
Weekends, as far as like
Omar, sorry, you're on with
me
and Reggie. Sorry about that.
Oh no, we're good. Hey Reggie, how you doing?
How you doing, Omar?
Oh, pleasure. Yo, Reggie, I know this is a little bit off topic, but we were really wondering, like, I was saying on the forums that you got Death Row did the best job handling the Tupac catalog after he passed, as far as giving us enough each year where we were happy and it was still the original music. It wasn't remixes. What was your plan for the catalog when you thought it was going to be in your hands basically for, forever?
Well, what we did, and the story on that is, okay, so Death Row really only owned All Eyes on Me, Makaveli, Still I Rise. Those are the three albums that Death Row own, that they own.
Mm-hmm.
Greatest Hits, Until the End of Time, Better Days, and all of those. We have a share. We had a profit sharing deal with the distributor, which was Interscope and Universal, and then with the estate, which was Amaru Records,
Mm-hmm.
and then Death Row. So that's how that was done. So All Eyes on Me, Makaveli, and Still I Rise, we took eventually, and it was at priority right after he died because Interscope pretty much cut ties with us.
Mm-hmm.
And then we took it to a company called DNA, who had it for a few months because they went bankruptcy.
Oh,
And
was
then
that
on to
D3?
Koch.
Was that D3? Yeah.
D3 was like Interscope,
Oh,
but
gotcha.
the major was DNA.
Okay.
And so then we went to Koch, who later became E1 Entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Then he lost it in the bankruptcy, and then that's when they came up with Wide Awake.
Mm-hmm.
Wide Awake had it for a while, and then E1 Entertainment purchased it from them, and E1 Entertainment is currently the owner.
It's where it lies. But Reggie, when you guys put together Gridlock and Gang Related, you guys still had control of the catalog, correct?
Yeah, we still do, and those albums are still owned by Death Row as well.
Because I
Well,
was
not Death Row, by E1 Entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
by E1. Because I was telling John, I would have been happy the way you guys were doing it, like spreading, 3 to 4 songs a year. I would have been happy with you guys doing that till now because we would have got everything correctly how we all wanted it. And, for anybody to say that, Death Row handled the cat. No, 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 no. As soon as everybody else got in the kitchen is when the quality of the food went down. And I just want to applaud you because I believe you did those little years where Suge was in jail and before the 2000s. I think you did a great job handling it, putting those projects together. Let me talk to you about the greatest hits. What was the process of getting Troublesome to be on that album?
Well, to be honest, it wasn't a process. It wasn't that hard at all because we owned it. So we were just able to put it on there. So we picked the 3 songs. And I'll be honest, back then my Tupac historian was the realist, and I pretty much gave him access to all the music, and he wouldn't tell me which ones were the hits and which ones were had kind of been out there before with other verses, and which one. The only one that he and I disagreed on was Changes. He didn't like Changes at all when it first came out. But for some reason, I always loved that song. But other than that, I have to give all the credit to the realist. Who,
and that's great to hear because you know what I mean. Because a lot of people, you can't take that away from the realist. That it was his ear, that he chose those songs. So you gotta get him props. Reggie, what is the story as far as the Are You Still Down double CD? I've always heard that was Death Row's album. That songs were stolen from you guys. Is that true?
It was our music, and stuff that was done during his time. Even with the song with John B. We did that as a trade-off for something that he had did with Babyface, who John B. was signed to. We did a trade-off with some work he did on Danny Boy, and then we did a trade-off with that song. But it was a young lady in their office Are you still the song with John B that knew about it and called and got permission from me to put it on a John B album, which I think is what carried John B for a while.
I think what he's
But
talking about,
how's the
Reggie,
music
though, is
went?
when Tupac
You talking about
signed.
the album?
Yeah, he's talking about the album of material that Tupac had while he was in
Yeah.
jail.
Yeah,
The old
yes,
stuff.
sir.
Sorry.
Yes, sir. I'm talking about that album.
Which one? Are you still down?
Yeah,
Yeah, the actual album that was put out by Jive and Amaru.
Oh yes. Okay.
because Sugar would always claim
No,
that those are his songs and all
no,
that. Yeah.
that's not true.
Okay.
That's not true.
Okay,
Not
so
true.
that
No
that
truth to
that
that.
was okay. That
Yeah,
was totally
no
good.
truth to that. Yeah.
Okay, and then
That was all Interscope. That was all Interscope music that from the Pac would call them studio garbage.
Mm-hmm.
okay,
The stuff that they make Me Against the World or the Thug Life album and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Here's a
That's what they
question
call that.
from one of the people in the live chat, Mike White. He wants to know, Realist, and you can just clear this up so people don't have to ask anymore because I hear this a lot. Did the Realist ever hop on any unfinished Tupac songs? I know the answer, but if you want to clear that up.
Unfinished. Okay, let me see. The only thing that the Realist ever did, and he'll kill me for saying this, was a couple of songs we needed for radio that I might have took a cuss word out and added a clean word.
Yeah.
That's it.
Life goes on. Yep. That's what I say.
That was it.
But I keep getting the questions, but that's okay. So
he never redid any verses or anything like that. All he did was maybe said a word, like, things that couldn't be said on the radio.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's good. Reggie, when everything started going down, what was when do you think was your separation from Interscope, and do you think Interscope had your guys' back at the end, or did they guys just pretty much leave you on your own?
Well, they helped us a lot. It's kind of hard because we did things that violated our contract, and so to say that they did us wrong, we had plenty of warnings with them. However, they had signed and they were bought by Universal. What Suge was always upset with them before is because the Time Warner deal, they offered Suge. The guy Fuchs came, and I remember Suge had him waiting at the airport on the runway for about 2 or 3 hours. And what he did was Fuchs came and offered Suge like $100 million cash and 2 state-of-the-art studios to purchase Death Row Records.
Mm.
By him doing that violated Interscope agreement. That was like contractual interference. That's like, like the Lakers right now going and offering LeBron $100 million to come and play with them next year. That's called contract interference.
Yeah, conflict of interest.
That letter. Yeah. Suge took that letter that Fuchs signed over to him in an agreement and gave it to Jimmy Iovine, who at the time they were in a deal with Time Warner where they owned 50%, and that got Jimmy to get his company back and was able to take it over to Universal. And so that's why Suge felt that by him doing that and playing against Fuchs, who was a major player at Time Warner, and not taking the money and leaving Interscope hanging, because that's all they wanted. They didn't want anything that Jimmy had because they hadn't did the Beck album and all of that stuff yet. 96, 97 haven't came yet when they started blowing up. They were just living off Death Row stuff and Tupac stuff. Marky Mark had went by the wayside, and all the Interscope acts, 9 Inch Nails, they were pretty much in bankrupt prior to Death Row coming. And so Suge always felt that Jimmy was disloyal to him, and he should have always rolled with him no matter what. Even though that we violated some, by Suge getting arrested and going to jail, violated the agreement that made them be able to tear up a $1.5 million advancement, a $20 million deal, and distribution to making us go over to deal with the likes of Priority Records. And so that's the gripe that Jimmy had. But as you know, they picked and choose what they want to deal with us. They didn't want to deal with us with the Snoop stuff. That's why we had to end up selling Snoop to No Limit, to Master P, and stuff like that. But you can see they never let us go with the Tupac stuff. They always distribute the 3 or 4 albums that came out with the estate and Tupac. And so that's why we have a little bad taste in our mouths with Interscope Records.
Yeah, because it's almost like how they did Pac when you guys came in and saved Pac. It's almost like how they did you guys at the end.
Well, they turned it, but they didn't want to deal with Pac no more. People always say, "Well, where was Pac money?" They forget Neil Against the World just came out prior to us coming to him. I mean, I'm not trying to shit on Pac and that, but y'all seen what his bank account was. He should have still had money from Me Against the World, right?
Of course, yeah, double platinum.
He should have had money from that.
Yeah.
But Suge went and bought his mama a house while Dear Mama was #1 on the charts. Is when Suge went, that album was being played and it was towards the end, but it was at least a, over platinum album. It was over that amount when Pac was still in jail. So y'all saying he spent all of that money? He spent all of that money in the 9 months, and then when y'all get the records, y'all say, "Oh, he broke. Death Row should have gave him some money." The other question that nobody ever asks and wonder, where is Pac publishing money? We didn't have a publishing deal with him, so everybody always say, "Man, y'all made Pac die broke." No, we wasn't doing a royalty statement to him yet. But to prove that, where was his publishing money? He wrote all those songs. He wrote 50% of all those songs. There's 100% of a song, 50% writer's credit, 50% producer credit. As far as producers go, I mean the person that made the beat.
Yeah.
Where was that money then if he was supposed to have been accountable for? So that's what, get us all, a little upset when people talk that don't know the business always say, "Well, he should have had this much money. He should have had this much money. He should have died broke." No, we were advancing him money like crazy. He wasn't due accounting yet. To say didn't Pac request an audit? No, he did an audit, and the audit was, how much have I spent? So when my money come in, how much I'm going to owe y'all?
Yeah.
And that turned out to be $4.5 million is what we was going to owe him after all the records that were sold, based on everything that he had spent and did, no matter how many records were sold.
Yeah.
But that wasn't due until October. He died September the 13th.
Crazy. Reggie, can you tell me what was your thought process, or what was the process as far as when he passed away and you knew that you had to put the Makaveli album together? Who was in charge? I mean, at that time, those DATs or those reels become almost like Beatles status, priceless. Who was the one that was who goes and gets that stuff, listens to it, and says, "Okay, this is how we're going to put it together"?
Well, Paul pretty much had the album completed. It was pretty much completed. The only thing he wanted to do to the album was, and I remember him turning in the Suge when we was in the park, and when he had the conversation with Nas in the park after the MTV Awards, he said, "We're going to take that part off." When he was dissing Nas, he turned to Suge and said, "We're going to take that part off the album." That was the only thing that he wanted done differently. He came home that week. We finished up. They tossed it up the video. We did a reshoot because Aaron called crazy ass. He did something. He didn't show up to the video shoot, or he came with some dogs on the set or something. And Aaron Hall was crazy. And so I think he had some attitude adjustments we had to deal with Aaron Hall on. And so we had to do some reshoots on the video shoot on that. But other than that, the Makaveli album was pretty much completed. We did the video. He wasn't a part of that. um, the video, with the guys watching
Mm-hmm.
watching it, in the haunted house. I forget how it
The
was.
Hail
Oh, Hail
Mary
Mary.
one. Yeah.
Hail
Yeah, the
Mary,
Hail
yeah.
Mary video. So that was about it. That was needed to be done. The artwork was pretty much approved by, with the Biggie, the pig and Puffy
Hmm.
on the back.
Yes.
So everything was pretty much done on that. So he pretty much put that album together as well. Uh, he just wasn't there to promote it like we would have liked it to be promoted.
Of course. Of
But
course.
y'all got to remember, Pac was just, I hate saying this because I know I'm talking to his fans that loved him so much, but All Eyes on Me was his best album. Makaveli was coming, but he was just like a regular artist. Snoop and all of them had did numbers like that. So we looked at him as normal. We didn't know that this stuff was gold until, you know,
Yeah.
98, 99. He didn't become Elvis or Jimi Hendrix or them until as he grew,
Yes.
after the year grew. It wasn't
Yes.
like 96 when he passed away. It was like, oh, we got Elvis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that then.
Yeah.
I know it's hard for people to say that now, in 2018, but in '96 we wasn't thinking like that.
Yeah. Reggie, another big question that a lot of people have is why did the Snoop Dogg documentary, why didn't that never come out? I mean, that Midnight Love, man, that in LA, that was big, man. That was a huge, that was ready. It was ready to drop.
We were gonna do it. That was supposed to. That was dropped as an EP.
Hmm.
We did the EP on it, as I recall, or maybe not.
Yeah, no,
But it was supposed to
going
be an
but
EP. It was only supposed.
Yeah.
It never came out.
No, it never came
So
out.
that's when Snoop went crazy on us, and then that's when we had to sell his ass.
Mm-hmm. But we're gonna do a whole episode on Snoop, so don't give away too much.
Okay.
Too much. Sorry, Omar.
All right. So
We're gonna try to do a
Okay,
whole
no,
episode
no, that's cool.
around that era between '96 and '98 when Pac passed, and then Snoop left. A year and a half later. So.
Yeah. No, okay, no, that's good. Well, Reggie, can you tell us a little bit who made the decision to take off the original back of the Makaveli cover? Who made that decision to take the characters off of there?
yeah, Interscope. They didn't like it. And then after that era had happened and all of that had happened, it just was bad business.
Yeah.
It
But Reggie, you know what? I'm glad I remember this.
But we did put it in the inside of the album. We just didn't put it on the back.
But
No,
Reggie,
they scrapped it altogether. Reggie,
they
didn't put it on
scrapped
anything.
it all.
Yeah,
Oh, it didn't go on the inside?
Yeah, Papa G
Yeah,
said
no.
that after he passed, that he saw it and was just like, "Oh, we can't put this out. Like it's too much."
Yeah, I thought it got
Yeah.
out. Where did I see it at? I must have some artwork with it.
Yeah,
no,
when
Reggie,
they
you
did
saw
the
saw it
auction.
because there was a proof. Yeah, there was a proof at the.
Okay,
But Reggie, that's what I wanted to ask you. Was Makaveli at one point going to be distributed by Priority Records?
No, always Interscope. Only thing, now if Interscope didn't want to do it, they had first right of refusal on everything at that time. But if they didn't want to do it, the only thing that Priority they have, and people think Easy still make money off of Dre and all of that. Easy don't make a penny off of Dre, never has. But one company that did, Priority. Y'all look at any of Dre albums. His albums have never been distributed by Universal. His album always been distributed by Interscope, Priority. Priority never signed away their rights on Dr. Dre.
That's great. Yeah, Priority. They've been making money forever. Reggie, going a little bit.
Capitol Records.
That's the big company. They bought him out.
Yeah.
Reggie, can we talk a little bit about the just like Hen Dog, everybody that passed away from the actual crew? Has any of those murders been solved? Any of them?
See if I still got him. Reggie, you there?
I'm trying to think.
Oh.
Okay, let's give me names. Let me see. Let's talk about names. I know.
Hen Dog?
No, we know did it. The Denver Lane's responsible for it, but no.
Okay.
Uh,
Heron.
Heron, George Williams responsible for it, but we didn't. That's the one y'all call Monkey Man, which
Okay.
disrespectful to me, but his name is G.
G.
Uh,
Buntry.
Buntery, no. But George Williams and his crew and Roderick is responsible for that one as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so those guys are in jail for life, So
just on different crimes.
Charges, yeah. But those who's responsible for them.
Yeah.
Who else? Somebody else. Heron.
And then Jake Robles was. I mean, even though he was part of the crew,
yeah.
that was kind of like a set. I mean, But Reggie, we can say that sparked it, right? That was the event that sparked it.
Sparked what? The beef between Bad Boys and Death Row?
Yes, just that whole.
That caused bad blood, but I really believe where it started from was from Pac and Suge conversation in the jail, where Pac told Suge what his plans were, and Suge being like he is, I'm with you, I'll ride with
you. Yeah, and John, do we have? I know this might be a dumb question, but do we have an actual day that Pac got released from jail? I mean, everybody says this day and that day, but
October,
is there an actual?
But I don't know exactly.
October, it was towards the end of October.
Yeah, and just real quick, Real Eyes, the guy that's in our YouTube, look on our channel because there's an interview with Reggie, and the photo is a photo of him, Suge, and Pac together. So for you to keep spamming the comments saying there's no pictures of Reggie and Tupac together, that Tupac didn't fuck with him, you kind of don't know what you're talking about. Reggie,
yeah,
for people who don't know, Reggie wasn't Hollywood, so he didn't have all the photos.
John, I don't think people understand that, like how it is now, where everybody's like taking photos. It wasn't like that, like in the '90s, man. Like people were not just like,
And not me. I preach against it. I try to tell my guards not to be that. I thought that was Hollywood when security guards and people look for you all in the pictures. That was for the stars and stuff like that. Is what I preach. But I didn't take pictures. Matter of fact, for the first RJNF stuff, they had to buy a photo to put in their little stuff. I know he paid $1,200 for a photo of me, so that's why he's mad and always wanted pictures and stuff to be out there and want me to shut up and go away.
Yeah,
I ain't going nowhere, RJ.
Man, no, there was a time, Reggie, honestly, because I've always told John, I feel like a lot of the drama takes away from the great music that you guys did, and I'm all about the music. And so for a long time, I didn't know nothing. I didn't want to know anything about the murders because I feel like it was just, I believe RJ Bond bootlegs the memory of Pac getting killed every single day, and I hate that. It's just like bringing it up again and again and again. So I never really wanted to know too much about all this. But for a while, I thought you were like Darth Vader, man. I didn't know who you were. I just had heard. John always told me, man, your trip, like Reggie's super cool. But I thought you were just like the most mysterious person. And now that I hear you talking, and you were almost like meant to have your own show. Like it's just fun. And for people to be like, man, he's so mysterious. Who is this guy? Like they got it all twisted.
Yeah, I was trying to just move on with my life and do it until it just kept going. Sometimes you try to ignore people, and then when they keep just beating on you, how long do you supposed to take it? And that's how I felt RJ was doing me. I'm not that way. I'm not the same people that Suge grew up with and stuff. I grew up with them just because I went and became a cop. I wasn't the cop. I wasn't the kid that used to get beat up at school and then became a cop and thought he was a tough guy.
Mm-hmm.
I never got beat up.
Man, don't forget. Remember, Reggie, just the boogeyman.
Hey, I'll be honest. I got that side if I'm pushed.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm not gonna lie to you. He almost brainwashed me because I was like, man, dude, this guy is like really scary. but that's good that whatever happens from here now on, people know the real you. And
That's all. And
and
I'm
at the
doing
end
it
of
for my kids. You know, my kids are older now. They read stuff and they have friends. My son has the same name as I do, and you know all of that stuff. So you know, now I, you know, how I mess up my dad's name, I realize how, you know, your name is.
yeah.
Man, your name is everything. There's so much stuff I done learned in this last year, just about reputation and respect from people. But it really bothers me that it really bothers me just how this man just keep beating up on me and beating up on me, and I don't know anything about him. It's just
Well,
unfair.
Reggie, you got to also understand. There's no money in solving the case. There's money in keeping it going and going and going. Just like the JFK assassination. Not on that level, but what I'm saying is there's no money. There's no money in the cure. You know what I mean? Like they just want to keep it going. So that's the bad thing because you're involved, and they're gonna have 100 different theories, and you're just gonna constantly be involved. But now that you're actually speaking, maybe you could, kind of halt that a little bit. But they're gonna continue because they're gonna, it's all about trying to make money. Ain't no money in solving the case.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any
yeah,
questions on the
yeah.
chat, Reggie, that you're seeing before we wrap up? Just because I don't want to get
Oh,
too
okay.
far over an
I'll
hour
start
and a
looking.
half.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
I did see
Okay.
somebody ask if
Um.
David Mack was still alive, and I believe he's in prison. Is that correct?
No, he's out. He got out, but he just, you know, he just went away.
Okay.
I never known him, never met him, but you know, you know, um, the Rampart thing, you kind of learn and hear about their names and stuff.
Yeah.
But he got released. He only, I think he got like a 7 or 8 year bid,
Okay.
so he's
Here's a
out.
good one from a guy SMS 130. He wants to know by all of us. I guess a little group discussion. Looking back now, do we feel that the bootlegs did as much damage to Pac legacies as some may have thought? I can't speak for you two, but I think, and I told you this before, Reggie, that I think the bootlegs actually kept Death Row relevant during that time that stuff didn't get released because no one knew that he screamed Death Row on every single one of those songs until all those CDs started flooding the streets. I don't know how you felt up there. I mean, I'm sure it was probably a nightmare at first, but looking back on it now, do you think it's a good thing that the original versions had come out, or do you think it's a bad thing?
It costs some financially, but then we also got to learn that which songs people wanted, and that's how I was able to put until the end of time together,
Mm-hmm.
because I knew which one was the hits. Because you know, as it went further and further, okay, put it up till end of time up against Better Days.
Yeah.
It's a big difference, right?
Yeah.
It's a big difference.
Even the
And that's,
sound quality, even the sound
yeah.
quality.
Well, that's because Suge thought he was involved in. He didn't have the Dre and all of them around to help out with it. No disrespect to him. I tell you, Suge is a creative genius. He's a marketing and creative genius, but he didn't know music like he thought he did. But and then that's all he had to choose from as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he had to choose from. But uh, so, but my point to you is we was picking as we knew what people were liking, you know,
Mm-hmm.
talking to the people like the realists and stuff like that. That is like, hey, no, this is the one you need to put out, Reg. This the one need to be on that album,
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
not this one and not that one. And so, unfortunately, and I hate to keep saying it because you know it's a disrespect to him, but this was stuff that Pac was kind of like scrapping, like, okay, I don't like this one, I don't like that we put out. They made money off of. Most of that stuff would have never seen the day of life if he was still alive.
Mm. Reggie, what about John? What about the what we were speaking about earlier as far as the 4 disc CD
Oh
box?
yeah, yeah. Do you want to talk about that, Reggie? How initially it was going to be straight from the vaults or whatever that they had me put on the
Yeah,
website, where it's going to be all 4 discs, just right out, just boom, straight to the fans.
yeah, that was the plan. But what had happened was we got greedy with money. Not me, but after Still I Rise, Greatest Hits.
Oh, I can't hear you, Reggie.
We'll put them all out on Death Row and Amaru. Is a deal that we made with Miss Shakur, and then at that point we was only able to own an album worth of songs that was put out from until the Inner Time On was the deal before the bankruptcy came into effect. Mm-hmm. Was the deal that was made with the estate, and so that's why we was trying to just get all the albums out. But once we decided that we were going to just put them all out and we'll all be partners in it, then that's when we scrapped the Vault ideal. Mm-hmm. Because it would have been too much back then. It was going to be like, I think, $99.
Yeah.
It would have been too much. And it would have been a nice collective item. But, who had that type of money back then?
Reggie, if you know,
one more on Martin, and then let's wrap it up. I just don't want to keep people too long,
Okay, I'm gonna end this one with this.
Oh, good.
The 25-year anniversaries to a lot of big of the 90 albums just came out, but we didn't see an All Eyes on Me, 20-year anniversary. Can you speak on that a little bit? Because I just feel like that album is so classic, and
you have to talk to the distributors now. If Death Row owned it, I'm sure we'll be trying to do it to keep their name out and keep it going. But E1 is the owner of it now, and they're having some problems with the estate. Tom Wadley and Molly, who works for the estate now, they never really had no loyalty or a good relationship with Koch or E1 Entertainment. That was always mine and Share connection. Mm-hmm. And so they was mainly Interscope people or Universal. Tom Wally later went to run Warner Brothers, but he no longer there. But I think that's the reason. But I wouldn't be surprised if you get a 25-year-old and have, in coordination with a movie or something like that. I understand the estate is trying to put a movie together. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if something come out like that then. But
man, they need you over there, Reggie.
They
need you over there, Reggie. You need to go over there. You need to go save it. You need to save the catalog, Reggie. Thank you for everything, Reggie.
Thank you, Mario. Thanks for the compliments, man.
All good.
Okay. And I just want to tell everybody to make sure you subscribe because we could go live any day. Like I know we did Wednesday last week. We did Tuesday this week.
Tomorrow is a good chance that we're going to do Corrupt. Definitely see Sal and Stephanie Fredericks of the A&E show. And Big Sal, who was Snoop's right here. But Corrupt told me he'll get back with me today, later on tonight, if he'll be able to do it tomorrow for us. Mm-hmm. So if y'all hear that RJ and Jesse are going live, trust me, I'm going to try to find somebody to knock them off if John's available. Yeah. If my boy John ain't available, then check at 313 because one of them will have something up. Because when RJ's talking, somebody that's from the Death Row days is going to be talking. Because we're tired of hearing his theories. And we want to hear about Death Row, Tupac, and stuff like that.
Yes, sir. 100%, Reggie. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And make sure you subscribe so you get alerted when we go live again.
All right. Cool. All right, Jay.